While this podcast isn't rated explicit, the content may not be suitable for younger listeners.
Welcome to Sex for Saints, the Christian couple's guide to great sex. I am your host, certified sex and marriage coach, Amanda Lauder. This is episode 319, Managing Your Spouse and Their Sexuality.
Welcome to Sex for Saints, a podcast for Christian couples. My goal with this podcast is to help enlighten, educate, and inspire you to understand yourself, your spouse, and your sexuality better. I talk about sex in a way you probably haven't heard before. I'm bold, I'm direct, but I keep everything in line with my strong Christian values. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the podcast. If you can't hear it in my voice, I am under the weather again. I think I've actually got the flu this time, which is no fun. So hopefully I can make it through this episode without having a coughing fit. All right, today we're going to tackle kind of a delicate but crucial topic about managing your spouse and their sexuality. And we're going to explore what this means, why people do it, and how it affects both higher desire and lower desire partners. We'll also discuss why it's maybe not the best approach and what to do if you find yourself in this situation. So what does managing your spouse mean? Well, as humans and spouses, we are really good at mapping our spouse and what they're feeling and what their intentions are. Now, managing your spouse generally refers to trying to control or influence their feelings, behaviors, actions, or decisions. So instead of being intimate and honest and kind, we're being nice, which doesn't produce intimacy and connection. It can happen in various aspects of the relationship, from daily routines to very significant life choices. And it can involve direct actions such as giving unsolicited advice or setting rules, or more subtle approaches like using guilt or passive-aggressive comments. It can mean avoiding certain topics of discussion because you know it always causes problems. It can involve manipulating the situation as to not cause problems. So many people describe this managing as walking on eggshells. And it often stems from a place of concern or fear or even love. And the intention might be to help. Sometimes we manage our spouse because we genuinely believe we're helping them or protecting them. But managing often leads to tension and imbalance in the relationship. For example, a wife may know that if the house is a mess, the kids are noisy, if dinner isn't ready when her husband walks in the door, he's immediately irritated, and he acts out of his irritability by being short with her and the kids. So to avoid this and manage him, she tries to make sure that everything is perfect when he walks in the door. Okay? Or maybe a wife knows that she needs to manage her husband and his sexuality because she knows that if she doesn't have sex with him, on a fairly regular basis, that he's grumpy with her and the kids. And she knows that he's just better behaved and more connected emotionally when he is getting sex regularly. So she feels like she has to manage him because he has shown her that he isn't kind or as kind if she doesn't. Duty sex can often fall under this umbrella. Conversely, let's say that sex is really important to the husband, but he knows that every time he brings it up with his wife, she goes into a one-up position, really getting angry and accusing him of not caring about anything but sex. Or maybe she goes into the one-down position and feels like she's just never going to be enough for him, right? So to manage her and the situation, he just stops bringing it up. So managing your spouse might work in the short term because you can influence them to act in ways that you think is best. However, this approach can lead to resentment, miscommunication, and a lack of trust over time. So when one partner feels controlled or managed, it can create an imbalance in the relationship and undermine intimacy and mutual respect. So when we talk about managing your spouse's sexuality, we mean trying to control or influence their desires, behaviors, and expressions. Now, this can include dictating how often you have sex, or how they should express their desires, or even how they should feel about their own sexuality. It's about trying to mold their sexual behavior to fit your own expectations or comfort levels. So for higher desire partners, managing might involve pressuring their spouse to have sex more frequently, expressing frustration or disappointment when their needs aren't being met, or trying to initiate intimacy in ways that feel coercive. Now, lower desire partners might manage their spouse's sexuality by setting strict limits on when and how sex can happen, withholding sex, avoiding conversations about sex, using sex as a bargaining tool, or using excuses to avoid intimacy. And both approaches can lead to resentment and a breakdown in communication. Now, managing your spouse's sexuality might work temporarily because it can create immediate change or compliance. However, it often fails in the long run because it undermines trust, respect, and genuine intimacy. So true sexual connection thrives on mutual consent, understanding, and a balance of needs and desires. The partner being managed may feel controlled and devalued, while the managing partner might feel increasingly frustrated and disconnected. So managing your spouse and being managed both feel kind of icky. It doesn't feel good to either one of you. So people might manage their spouse's sexuality for a variety of reasons. First, maybe with fear and insecurity. So fear of losing their partner or feeling insecure about their own desirability can lead to controlling behaviors. Second is a desire for control. So some people feel the need to control situations to feel secure and safe. The third is past experiences. So previous relationships or experiences can influence how someone approaches sexuality in their marriage. Fourth is misunderstanding. So a lack of understanding or knowledge about their partner's needs and feelings can lead to misguided attempts to manage their behavior. And fifth is conditioning. So based on what a person learned in their family, religion, or society, they can have certain beliefs and ideas and expectations around sex and work to conform their relationship to those ideas and ideals. So if you have recognized, maybe from this podcast or just in the past, that you've been managing your spouse and you want to change that, here's what you need to do. First, recognize behavior. Awareness is always the first step, right? We have to recognize that it's happening. So really take some time to reflect on your actions and identify how you might be managing your spouse. This could be criticizing, setting strict rules, using guilt, or withholding affection. Really acknowledging these behaviors is crucial for change. Number 2, understand the impact. So understanding the negative impact that managing your spouse can have on the relationship. It can lead to resentment, a lack of trust, and a breakdown in communication. When you control or manipulate your spouse, it undermines their autonomy and can damage the emotional and sexual intimacy in your marriage. And I know that it can seem like you're actually helping or even protecting yourself and your children, but it usually isn't. And the caveat to that, of course, is if there's actual abuse going on. Number 3, to communicate openly. So open and honest communication is always vital, right? Sit down with your spouse and discuss your realization. Let them know that you recognize your behavior and want to change. Express your desire to work together to create a healthier dynamic. And this conversation should be approached with humility and a genuine willingness to listen. So let's just go back to the example of the wife who needs to make sure that everything is perfect when her husband gets home in order to manage him, right? So she can sit down with him and say, hey, I've noticed that I am trying to make sure that the house is spotless, the kids are clean and not being noisy, and the dinner's on the table as a way to manage you. Because when I don't do this, I notice that you get really grumpy or snippy with me and the kids. So what can we do so that both of us can work towards a better dynamic? What can you do to realize that sometimes things are not going to be perfect when you get home? And I will continue to do my best, but I'm not going to expect perfection to try and manage you. Now, that can be met with defensiveness. So we definitely need to work on owning our part and listening to what our spouse has to say and understanding that both of you are contributing to this dynamic. Okay. Number 4, practice empathy and respect. So put yourself in your spouse's shoes and try to understand their perspective. Show empathy for their feelings and experiences, respect their autonomy and right to make their own decisions. And this shift in mindset can help you let go of the need to control instead of foster a partnership based on mutual respect. So, yeah, it must be really hard to have worked a really hard day at the office, stress there, and then come home and things are kind of chaos when you get home. I can see how that can, spike your anxiety and then you're grumpy. That's how we can express empathy and respect. Number 5, focus on building trust. So trust is the foundation of any healthy relationship. And so we need to work on rebuilding trust by being consistent in your actions and your words. So show your spouse that they can trust you to respect their boundaries and their needs. Trust building is a gradual process, but it is essential for long-term relationship health. Number 6 is to set healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries are the key to a healthy, loving relationship. They are crucial for both partners. So discuss and establish boundaries that respect each other's needs and desires. These boundaries should be mutually agreed upon and flexible enough to accommodate changes as your relationship evolves. Now, remember that boundaries aren't about control. They're about letting the other person practice their autonomy and their agency and deciding what you're going to do in the face of that. It's about you and your response to their behavior. So I like to talk about it more as like internal boundaries. Like, this is what I'm going to allow for myself. This is how I'm going to respond and show up based on my values and what my integrity says. Okay. Number 7 is to develop new communication skills. So work on developing new communication skills that promote understanding and cooperation rather than control. And this is so much of what I do in couples coaching, is helping them figure out how to talk to each other in better ways. I was just working with a couple that some things got out of hand, things escalated, words were said that shouldn't have been said. The wife's trying to manage the husband because of the blow up around the kids. Like, it just isn't working, right? And so and then the husband said, well, I blew up because I had been trying not to nitpick and all of these other things going on. And then I just exploded. So when we have these new communication skills, we can talk about it without blaming, without criticizing, and really finding mutual agreeable solutions to conflicts. Really listening to what the other person is saying. Hey, I'm noticing that you seem frustrated, and I'm noticing a lot of negative comments from you because of that, I think. So tell me what's going on for you and how we can work together to make this a better experience for both of us. Now, they might get defensive, right? But instead of defensiveness, try to own your part. Like, yes, we want to work towards better solutions. So really developing those new communication skills is important. All right, number 8, seek professional help. Sometimes changing deeply ingrained behaviors and dynamics can be challenging without guidance. So consider seeking help to get valuable tools and strategies to help you and your spouse navigate these changes effectively. Sometimes we need that neutral third party to help us see where we're getting in our own way. So like with the couple that I was working with, he thought he was right. She thought she was right. And really both of them were right and wrong. And they both needed ways to see what they're doing and how they're contributing to the dynamic. Number 9 is be patient with yourself and your spouse. Change takes time, and it's essential to be patient with yourself and your spouse. Now, there's going to be setbacks. Growth is not linear, and that's okay. The important thing is to remain committed to the process and to keep working towards a healthier dynamic. And number 10, celebrate progress. Acknowledge and celebrate the progress that you make along the way. Every step towards a more balanced and respectful relationship is a victory. Celebrating these moments can help reinforce positive behavior and motivate you to continue on this path. So how do you know if your spouse is managing you? Well, because we can map our spouse, often you can tell at some level that you are being managed. And while it may feel good for a minute, it usually doesn't feel good in the long run. So number one is to recognize the signs. Now, this can include feeling pressured to meet your spouse's expectations, experiencing guilt or shame when you don't comply, or feeling like your autonomy is being undermined. It could also mean that everything all of a sudden seems calm and not a problem. Like if your wife is all of a sudden making sure that everything is perfect when you get home from work, right? Often things get swept under the rug because our spouse doesn't want to rock the boat. Number two is understand the impact. It's important to understand the impact that being managed can have on you and your relationship. It can lead to feelings of resentment. If you know you're being managed, that doesn't feel good, right? It can decrease self-esteem. It can cause a breakdown in communication and trust. So acknowledging these impacts can help you see the necessity of addressing the issue, and also understanding how you and your behaviors are contributing to the problem of your spouse feeling like they have to manage you can sometimes be applicable. Number three is to communicate openly and honestly. So the next step is to have open and honest conversation with your spouse. Communicate how their behavior makes you feel and express your need for a more balanced and respectful approach to your relationship and sex. Now, this can be difficult, but it's essential for addressing the issue. So here's some tips for effective communication. Number one, choose the right time. Don't do it when you're already in the middle of a fight. That's not helpful. Find a time when you're both calm and not distracted. Two, use I statements. Focus on expressing how you feel rather than blaming your spouse. For example, I feel controlled when, right? Number three, be specific. Give specific examples of behaviors that make you feel managed. And number four, stay calm. Keep the conversation calm and avoid getting defensive or accusatory. And if it starts to escalate, take a break and then readdress. All right, number four is focus on building mutual respect. So a healthy relationship is built on mutual respect and understanding. So focus on building a partnership where both partners feel valued and respected. This involves actively listening to each other, validating each other's feelings, and working together to find solutions that work for both of you. And number five is to be patient and persistent. Again, change takes time. And it's important to be patient with yourself and your spouse. There's going to be setbacks for sure, right? But staying committed to the process is key. Keep working towards a healthier dynamic and celebrating the progress that you make along the way. And again, professional help can be invaluable in resolving these issues and building a healthier dynamic. I know we had a lot of examples of this at my last couples retreat in September. And so a couples retreat is a perfect place to bring some of these issues, to work through them, to not manage your spouse or to stop being managed. So if you haven't looked at it already, Amy Gianni, who is my teacher and mentor, she and I partner up to do an amazing couples retreat in September. It's September, I think, 11th through 14th in Las Vegas. And it is such an amazing experience. So you can go to uplevelcouplesretreat.com to learn all about it. Sign up, put your application in, and we'll let you know if you're approved. All right, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for being here with me. Remember, love is a journey, not a destination. Stay committed, stay passionate, and stay connected. And we'll see you next time, my friends. Bye-bye.
If you want to learn how to apply what I teach you on this podcast, I want to invite you to work with me in my Embrace You coaching programs. In my coaching programs, I teach you all of the skills and tools you need to have a better relationship with yourself, your spouse, and your sexuality. You also get weekly coaching to help you apply what you are learning in your own relationship. For more information, go to amandalauder.com and click Get Help in the menu to see my programs for both men and women. Like what you're hearing on this podcast? Make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Don't forget to leave me a review and share it with your friends.